Hey guys, so okay, welcome back to the letter. We're playing through Marianne's chapter at the moment, which is chapter 4. Now, I played the next half an hour and I realized I didn't actually record it. So, I'm just going to play through it again. I'm going to replicate my choices that I made, which weren't too many, so that's not too much of an issue. But yeah, because no achievements will pop up or anything, that'll be why. So, anyway, let's continue. Get my Irish accent ready. When awake, whiskey's already gone. A bottle of painkillers and a note on the table are the only evidence that I wasn't alone last night. I didn't even question where these are from, or just how he knew my real name. I'm just grateful for something to help with the hangover. Might as well. I have a job to do. Alright, journal, new entry. Let's check it out. We're filling this up really fast, which is cool. A lot of information. I should go over it. Anyway, Marianne and Whiskey went back to her condo after having one too many drinks. However, Marianne changed her mind about the one-night stand and ended up sharing tea with him instead. Because that's what you do after a night out in the clubs. The next morning, the stranger left nothing but a note and a bottle of painkillers. A mystery man. October 22, Saturday. It isn't often that I think about drinking on the job, but after meeting with the Wrights yesterday, it really makes me want to break myself and post rules. Because first off, fucking damn Whiskey was fucking damn Mr. Wright. And to top it all off, they had somehow forgotten to inform me that they didn't own the Ermengarde Mansion yet when they hired me. What sort of person does that?
Rich people.
I could do nothing but twiddle my thumbs at this, however. Twiddle my thumbs and wait for the go signal. It's not like I can accept other small projects. This is a big job, and I should be ready to start on it at any time. Not to mention that my PA practically begged me to be patient and wait this out. It was a hard decision to agree, but I did so in the end. Besides, I'm doing this for the Ermengarde Mansion, not for anything or anyone else. I'd have a headache whenever I do anyway. I'd go to the pub again, but seeing what happened a few days ago, I'd rather not end up in bed with another potential client. And it might be a huge leap in logic, but the library is the next best thing after the pub. I have to go there anyway. I need more books for Dad. Plus I also need to return the ones I borrowed last time. Finding a new book or two to read for myself while I have nothing to do isn't such a bad idea either. So on a Saturday morning, I found myself going to the only library in Luxbourne to hopefully cool off. After returning an Erzuli and a poetry book by Henry of Potebrady, I asked the librarian about the several titles on my list, though I don't have much luck on that front. Dialogue with Death has already been snatched, and she bluntly said that she didn't keep Our Mathematical Universe for someone who didn't return books on time. I make headway at least when I ask about Siege and Rendition of Havana by Jacobo de Pozuela. If you count her snarling and pointing at the history section as headway, that is. The history section is devoid of any other, except for myself and a redhead, though I'd wager a guess that Red's just passing by to get to the classical literature section. So many books, so little time. Scanning the books and seeing so many wonderful titles gives me great pleasure. And that's when I spot it.
Hello, sailor. Why don't you come to Mama?
It's not the naval battle book I was looking for, no. It's even better. The newly acquired History of Luxbourne Architecture, first edition too. I know I just have to get it. I've been waiting to get my hands on the book for so long. The fact that there's only one copy proves to be a problem though, when Red reaches out for it at the same time as I do.
I think I had this first, miss.
I can only stare at her when she refuses to let go of the book. Rebecca. Small town, isn't it? Refusing to let go of it as well. I raise a brow at her in hopes of the fact that I was significantly taller than her would intimidate the girl. Even then, she refused with a rebellious look.
This isn't exactly light reading, miss. I mean, do you even know which architect was at the forefront of 18th century Irish architecture?
A beat. She blinks and I can't help the smirk on my face, which is wiped off when she opens her mouth.
Edward Lovett Pierce, who established the Palladian style through his work with Castletown House and the Irish Houses of Parliament. This bridge was destroyed in this year to delay French troops while under the regency of Mary of Guise.
This is not what I was expecting. Let's be honest. How many people would know these history facts? Aside from me, anyway.
Going right to the obscure ones, aren't you?
Got caught out. I love it when this happens. When you assume no one knows anything, but then they just hit you with all the facts and you're just like, oh, sorry.
Easy enough. Tullybody Old Bridge in Clackmannanshire, Scotland, on the January of 1560, if we want to be specific.
Suddenly it's a game where we throw these history questions and facts at each other, back and forth in hushed tones unless we want to be thrown out of the library. After a while it goes from some strange competition to this strange but friendly banter, if it can be called that. But as fun as it is, the exchange soon slows down until we're grinning about how odd the whole scene is.
Marianne McCulloch, my desire for potatoes doesn't quite match what the stereotypes suggest.
Rebecca Gales, The Scots' supposed hatred for the English wasn't enough to stop me from teaching their little spawns.
By then, we'd forgotten about a little tug-of-war, although she still holds the book in her hands. I let go of it without realizing when she answered my first question.
History teacher then?
Got it in one.
No wonder you gave me a run for my money. Now, if we're talking about architecture, I'd blow you out of the water. You're from where? Luxburn Uni?
Oh no, just St. Goretti's.
Ah yes, St. Goretti. You'd think a school would choose a more appropriate saint to name themselves after, especially when they have very young students.
And I'm guessing you're an architect, if you're so confident about the subject.
Interior designer, Miss Gales.
Please, just call me Rebecca. You aren't one of my students, are you?
Marianne, then.
I could have said I was an architect, but there's no point in explaining why I wasn't one anymore.
So, I've never seen you before. I'd like to think I've met every history aficionado in town.
I blame the rock I've been hiding under, of course. That, and I'm usually only here on the weekdays if time allows. Work often has me meeting clients on the weekends.
That must be interesting work.
It allows for some creative freedom, sure, but it's like working with children sometimes. Though you probably have it harder working with actual children. The hardest part is convincing them that your idea is their idea.
That sounds exciting.
It is!
But isn't that true for any workplace, though? We just cross our fingers and hope there aren't any man-children in charge of important things.
Totally true.
Any big projects right now? I can't imagine that interior designing is a frequent thing.
I'm working on the Ermengarde Mansion. Lucky me. That mansion. Inta. Wonderful. Breathtaking. I can't wait to start in it. Now that is beautiful architecture.
A pause. It looks like she wants to say something about the mention of my house. Probably about the fact that Isabella is waiting on it. I'm not surprised. That place is certainly popular with the locals, especially with the urban legends attached to it. In the next second, though, she seems to think better of it and drops what she's about to say.
So, do you have a portfolio or anything I can take a look at? I'd love to see your designs. Maybe you have some on a tablet. I've met some designers before, and they're always going crazy over these virtual room apps or another.
A tablet? Please. Callicrates didn't need those silly eye-tabs when he built the Parthenon. I certainly don't need one to design a house.
The computer back in my place is all I have. Why should I buy such an expensive gadget when that will just get outdated within the year, when what I have is just as functional? I don't think they had computers back when they were designing the Parthenon either, Marianne, but I see what you're trying to say. The traditional ways had a far more personal touch, in my opinion. Not to mention, those smartphones are awful tools of procrastination. I can't even count on one hand the number of people I see going outside, only to have their eyes glued to the things. And fuck touchscreens. They're evil things that make typing what should have been a simple task harder.
I do have an online portfolio, if you'd like. I can...
Speaking of thinking of the devil, seems to have summoned it, because before I could even carry on, Rebecca's attention wanes as she pulls out her mobile. For what I can only assume is a call, she gives me an apologetic look before she stands up and excuses herself. I'm just going to change the sentence there. Off farther into the aisle she goes, looking for some privacy. I do my best to give it to her as well, trying to tune her out.
Well, is something wrong? Lunch at the coffee house? Sure, I can make it. I'm not too far. I can be there in 10.
Yep, that's right. That's Isabella telling them the good news that she sold the house. But with how quiet the surrounding is, she can't blame me if I overhear snippets of her conversation. When she returns with a sheepish look on her face, I know that our friendly chat has to be cut short.
Sorry, I have to go and meet with some friends.
It's fine. Totally fine. No need to even apologize.
About the book.
Her embarrassment increases twofold when she realizes she's still holding on to a history of art, a Luxborn architecture. I don't give her time to think about it, as I put a hand up and shake my head. Fishing out a pen and paper from my bag along with one of my business cards, I hand them over to her.
You know, I'm busy with work, so I might not even be able to take a peek at it anytime soon. You can go ahead and have it, but you'll have to ring me up when you're returning it just so I can snag it right away. Deal?
She makes quick work, putting her number down and handing it back to me with a grin.
Deal. Just message me during school hours, of course.
Shouldn't it be outside of school hours? Because you're teaching? Anyway, doesn't matter.
You have a good day then.
You too.
Just me being, like, well, curious. With Rebecca gone, I'm left standing alone in the history section. Although my original plans were to simply sit down and read a good book, our little pop quiz, if you could call it that, made the time pass by without any of us realizing it. It was fun, and I do believe I made a new friend. Good job, Marianne. Even with the talk of lunch, however, I don't feel like grabbing a bite to eat. There's still other books to be read here, and I'm hoping to find something that will help me while I work with the rights. Something like how to deal with arseholes professionally 101, just in case. I've dealt with a lot of uppity, snooty and rich clients before, but it's still better to be safe than sorry. Because Luke Wright just takes the fucking cake. He probably manages to eat it too. It seems the world is conspiring to keep me away from my me time, as my mobile vibrates in my pockets the moment I find something from the shelves in the classical literature section.
Marianne McCulloch, Charlie Rose Design speaking.
Miss Cooper, Rose, she's still alive.
Rose Cooper here, Miss McCullough. I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time or anything, but I just wanted to check in and tell you that we've got the clear to hand over the documents. Madam Wright told us that we should forward the floor plans to you.
Already? How did they manage to go through the process so fast? Surely there's so many red tape to even acquire the forms and transferring of rights. No matter how rich the rights are, it shouldn't be this quick, right?
So, if I can just have your email, I'll be sending them your way.
I'd actually like a physical copy of the floor plans.
Oh, I suppose that's fine. I'm not at the office right now, but I can inform Miss Santos of your request.
I'll make sure to drop by the office after lunch if that's fine.
Not a problem. Right. Well, cheers.
Right. Cheers.
I don't know. I just don't. Is there some sort of deeper miscommunication when we last met? These things take time. It's been what? A day? Less than that even. There isn't even a point in trying to make sense of these people who seem to be larger than life. As it looks like I'm on the clock starting today, I might as well eat. Oh, journal update. What do we got? Saturday, October 22. Marianne befriended Rebecca Gales during a visit to the library. Marianne received a call from Rose Cooper afterwards, informing her that the Ermengarde Mansion's floor plans were ready for pickup at their office. Nice. We got some extra stuff here as well. Cool. Grabbing some fish and chips from one of the street food stalls, I find a table to spend time with a copy of Marquis de Sade's The Crime of Love, since Rebecca left with the book I wanted. I've read this one before, along with the rest of his works. This will be the 18th time, in fact. But it's always nice to read through it again, when I don't have the time to enjoy something new. Besides, when you're dealing with people so filthy rich that you just end up playing filthy, you need the good old Marquis sound of ice.
La blessure se trouvant sans aucune sorte de conséquence.
The wound being without any consequence. Of course, it's folly to think that things have no consequence, when everything actually does. Briar Realty Corporation's Luxbourne branch isn't too far off from the city centre. Just a few blocks away and I can easily eat and walk. I'd rather use this time to rest before I go into a flurry of activity. No doubt there'll be so much to do once we get hands-on with the mansion.
Still a lot better than working on another condo, at least.
Surely, no matter how much BRC and the old owners put into the restoration and preservation of the place, any big repairs would be superficial at most. I'm quite certain that, in their haste to sell the property, they did a rush job. It isn't an infrequent thing to do, despite how it is frowned upon. There'll be a lot of hidden issues that we'll need to weed out, and I have to make sure I find every single one of them, especially the more serious damages. Structural integrity is definitely on top of the list we'll have to consider. The building might look sturdy, but it is centuries old. That alone will likely pose a few problems here and there, put limitations on what we can do. Besides, despite how much I detest these rich snobs, they can pay rather handsomely, so long as I do an excellent job and do more than necessary. Those two things always made sure the referrals keep coming. I don't even have to hunt down projects for myself. When I do go up to BRC's office, I can't help but stop and stare when I enter the building. With the lunch hour closing, employees should have been back already, if they still aren't filtering through the doors. I get that it's a Saturday, that people probably feel tired and lazy to be working on the weekend, but they're still on the clock, and not bumming about wasting company's time on extended lunch breaks and cigarette sessions. The office is spacious, as it is with these big corporations. Each person is given their little space in what's usually a 2x2 meter cubicle. There's a lot more empty chairs than there are actual people working at their desks. It reminds me far too much of my last day at Porzkova Projects, during the massive layoffs due to the Irish economic crisis. But it isn't just that, though. Everything is as quiet as a grave. It's as if these people are merely ghosts. Speaking of ghosts, Santos comes in through the door, looking as if she'd just seen one. She looks at me, wide-eyed like a deer caught in the headlights, ready to bolt at any moment. I pointed out I wanted to inquire, but that would be unprofessional. Really, it's none of my business.
I presume that Miss Cooper told you why I'm here, Miss Santos?
Huh? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I just got back from lunch, you know?
Yeah, with Zach and Rebecca, that's right.
But it won't take too long. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, and she saw the ghost in the window, didn't she? This one here. Left with no choice, she hurried back to BRC, but on her way... Yeah. Nice. Okay, cool. I like the continuity, it's awesome.
Of course it won't. This whole project has established itself to be a matter done in haste. I do hope it doesn't mean that people are being careless in their duties.
She flinches and looks like she doesn't quite know how to respond to that. Thankfully, instead of opening her mouth, she leads the way towards her station and goes to fetch the floor plans. It won't take too long, as she said, but it does take a bit time to compose herself, most likely.
You know, we usually just email these things.
I prefer the real thing.
Not that you would know. You probably have your nose stuck in front of your smartphone when you're not working, and even when you should be working, playing those mindless addictive video games. I definitely wish Chris would stop playing that Batcat thingy during work hours too.
I know what you mean. Digital painting is nice, but nothing beats the smell of real paint. Not that I go and smell paint like a crazy person, but, you know, the real thing is different.
She's so adorable. Wait, what?
Yes, nothing is quite like the real thing.
And Marianne's just so stiff. Checking out the floor plans, I see that I'll have a lot going for me. Now I know how Ray felt when he found the Central Park West building floor plans from that one movie. Alright, here we go. So this is the Ermengarde Mansion. First, looking at the ground floor here, we got the ballroom. Huge room. Hall, basement. There's a basement? Jeez. I know there's a wine cellar. Kitchen, dining hall, parlor, music room, foyer. There's the stairs that goes up. 2 hallways, a bedroom, a theatre, conference room, master's bedroom, quarters. There's literally 2 bedrooms in this mansion. Everything else is like a functional room. There's a study room, 2 attics. Jesus. It's a big house. Anyway, this is why I became an architect in the first place. Jacobean style at its finest. It's a thing of beauty. Look at these gorgeous rooms, the delicate harmony between empty spaces. And speaking of empty spaces, there's something rather odd about these ones.
I feel a bit silly saying it out loud because I've never lived in a big house, let alone a mansion. But during the tour, I had the distinct impression that the rooms were bigger.
I just realised there's no ensuite, there's no bathrooms, just rest room on the ground floor. Jeez, terrible.
Maybe the scale is wrong? It's not much of a problem. And it is an old house.
There'd been little details here and there that I would have liked to address during the open house too. But it was all forgotten in the wake of Miss Santos's incident and the trouble with ownership. The wine cellar is going to be a problem. I shudder to think what sort of repairs they did to the place. There might have been things that were swept under the rug, pushed to the dark corner of the rooms, and hidden away in barrels. Water damage could have been covered up. There had been floods due to heavy rains in West England just last year after all. And if there's any sort of damage to the house's foundation, that's going to be a lot of work. I was not able to look at the attic as well. For all I know, a whole family of vermin could have made their nests there. Working with pest control is always the worst. Yeah, I don't think pest control is going to help with these attics. I can tell you now. The sheer size of this place is staggering, even if I did just say it was a lot smaller than I thought. I might just be biting off more than I can chew, but who doesn't like a good challenge? First things first, I'll have to...
So, do you want a coffee? The one from the staff room is pretty decent.
There's really no need. I'm sure you have rules against it.
Rules against bringing someone coffee? That's ridiculous. And even if there were regulations against it, nobody's really here to tell Sir John. I've already brought 2 mugs, and I'm not going to drink them on my own. Come on.
I have to stamp down my annoyance at being distracted. Seeing the girl, the young woman though, looks like she has a lot on her mind. If babbling is her way of dealing with stray thoughts, I'm not really the one she should be babbling to. How should I respond? Let's just be nice to Isabella. She's awesome, first off. And second, we should be maintaining contacts. BRC, we're going to be working with these guys probably in the future. It's always good to network, especially when you're a freelancer like Marianne is. So let's say you have something to say. I give her time to speak up. And we have actually repaired our relationship, so it started back here, from what I remember. So that's good. It's good news. But when she just stares, I clear my throat.
Yes? You have something to say?
As embarrassment creeps up on her face, I snatch one of the coffees from her and take a sip. Too hot?
Just thinking and speaking off the record. It must be fun, what you do. You go to people's houses and you make them, well, pretty. You're sharing your art with them.
It's a little bit more complex than that. But if you put it that way, it is fun. I wouldn't have done it for 7 years if it wasn't a little bit fun, I guess.
These big clients always have paintings in their homes. Do you have a supplier for art pieces?
She really isn't too professional, is she? I can't help but wonder why she was assigned to an important sale like the Ermengarde Mansion. I would say that she's too young, too nervous and unsure of herself. Her enthusiasm must make up for that in spades. I wouldn't have believed it if she had introduced herself as one. And Miss Cooper hadn't vouched for her. Why, she looks like she should still be in college. Acts a bit like it too. I thought she was a teen slumming it out in the mansion when I first saw her there lying on the ground. Surprise, surprise. She turned out to be one of the estate agents handling the property.
The clients usually support artists of their own choice. If they don't, I'm always happy to refer those that I know.
That's cool.
They're very picky. I don't think a hobbyist will have an easy time getting their work sold.
Hey, I'll have you know I was a student of the fine arts.
And yet here you are, selling property. Maybe you weren't a very fine student of the arts.
Ouch. Maybe I took that a bit too far. She bites her cheek, and it looks like she's barely holding herself back.
It's not like I had a choice.
She mutters it under her breath. I could barely even hear it. But the hurt is there. And if I were a bitter person, I would have snapped at her. You didn't become some famous artist to be feted by the art world just like you thought you would be. Big whoop. I didn't have a choice when I left Ireland. It was that or years of unemployment. The recession and the toll it took in the construction industry was out of anyone's control. I don't know what choice she wasn't able to make, whether it was about her being at art school or something else. But the world isn't a fair place, and the sooner she figures that out, the better. That's actually a good point. Still, with that forlorn look on her face, I can't help but sigh. The girl reminds me far too much of myself when I was younger.
Well, if you're thinking of commissioning your paintings, I'll have to see your work first.
Oh, it's not... I didn't mean it like that. I don't have any paintings.
Really? You sounded a lot like you still did art or want to. Now I'm starting to worry that you might just like the smell of paint.
I'm not a paint huffer, sheesh. I just mean I don't make much anymore. I don't really have the time for it. The tools and materials aren't exactly cheap either.
Everything has a price. It sounds like you're making excuses for something you're presumably passionate about. If you really want to practice art, a little out of your wallet isn't much.
It's not that simple.
It's not. Life's simple. People just like to make it complex.
Marianne telling it how it is.
Speaking off the record, I have some advice for you, kid. Either go for what you want, or stop thinking about it when you have something else.
So harsh, but so true.
That is unless you enjoy making yourself miserable. Then by all means.
You know, if you wanted to look at the floor plans without me bothering you, you could have just said so.
Oh, but I don't want to hurt Isabella. She's too nice and pure.
Would you have left me alone?
We'll never know now, will we?
A strained air settles in the room afterwards. Tell me about it. God, the tension's through the roof. New diary entry, or journal entry I should say. Marianne visited BRC to pick up the floor plans. She was assisted by Isabella Santos, and the two shared a brief talk about art, which ended with Marianne leaving a piece of advice to Isabella. It doesn't help that she doesn't immediately leave, as she said, lingering awkwardly by the door with that downcast expression. It's clear that there's more she means to say, perhaps even to defend herself in her choices in life. Or is she expecting me to dish out some more of that advice? It's an awkward affair, and I choose to hightail it out of the realty office as quick as I can. Though I'm able to keep myself professional at all times, doesn't mean I like it. And seeing that most of the day has already gone by before I even realised it, I choose to head back to my flat instead. Despite today being a Saturday. No fun, but at least this way I can definitely avoid another unpleasant encounter. Considering how much I'll be seeing whiskey in the near foreseeable future, I have a feeling I'll need all the rest of the weekend can give me. For the first time in a long while, excited as I am to work on the mansion, I cannot wait to be over and done with this project. Monday, October 24. This is the day after Rose was reported as dead. Monday couldn't come any sooner. After taking the floor plans with from Miss Santos the day before last, I spent most of my Sunday drawing up plans and calling in my suppliers. Although no design choices have been made yet, I'm quite sure that they would want high-end appliances, the most expensive materials, and the most pretentious everything. They usually did, these rich types, based from experience at least. Given how badly this whole thing started, it wouldn't hurt to be prepared. I have to check myself, make sure I'm not playing with my gloves, as one of the other building tenants takes up the elevator up with me. It makes me self-conscious when the woman's eyes go over me, and I'm sure she was going to point out some perceived flaw in my physical appearance. But I'm safe from being paranoid when they went off a few floors later. Still, the ride up to my floor is nerve-wracking. The Wrights lived at the very top of the penthouse, the creme de la creme when it comes to condominium and urban living. Just getting access to the place is an ordeal of its own. I had to jump so many hoops, so many security checks just to secure a key card. Not only because of building management, but because of Wright's personal security. It sometimes felt like I'm being interrogated for crime, and not visiting a client at their home. Even when their personal assistant called in to help out and verify my presence, the process is aggravated rather than hastened. Speaking of the devil, the elevator door opens, and I'm greeted by none other than Whiskey's not-so-little lackey.
I do apologize if I kept Mr. and Mrs. Wright waiting, but I'm here now and I'm ready, so if I may, Where are they?
They've just woken up, but they should be down soon.
Late risers, aren't they?
I'm surprised to see you made it through security. And only 5 minutes late.
You said I'd be through security soon, and it took half an hour. Define soon in this context.
I'd make myself comfortable if I were you. I'm going to go and put the kettle on.
About the tea, I don't want to intrude or anything.
The sir does not like being woken up by the whistling. But who am I to deny tea to a guest?
He shows me to the couch before drifting off to the kitchen, quietly pulling out a teapot, cups and all sorts of other things in preparation for tea. I ignore the animosity towards his employer that his words implied. I wouldn't be too surprised if Whiskey's own people don't like him. Accepting the quiet and isolation instead, I brace myself for what's to come. In this case, soon apparently means more than 5 minutes, or even 10. I sit in their living room just waiting, and when the kettle starts whistling and the tea has been served, I continue to wait. At least the silence is relaxing. But then, there's a crash. I nearly spill tea all over my lap in surprise, and I look up expecting security to come running. Even the man at the kitchen counter continues to fix breakfast like he heard nothing. I don't want to speak up about it, because it looks far too absorbed in his cooking, and I don't want to be the cause of burnt food or worse. However, there's something in me that just wants to figure out what that was, although I am not normally this nosy. What should I do then? We are going to continue waiting. We're not going to check it out. I mean, that's completely unprofessional, Marianne. And we got, like, Johans watching us. And 2, if Johans didn't hear it, and no one's running, it's probably the ghost. So this was my line of thinking. Continue waiting. Final answer. I have no business with it. These rich people usually value their privacy above all else after all. Unless, of course, they're posting pictures on social media, bragging about what good people they are for allowing themselves to be interviewed for some magazine. Then again, the whole reason I'm in this mess is because I don't give 2 shits about what goes on with people like them. And I'm not going to get caught snooping around and be accused of some imagined wrongdoing. I'm not going to be some busybody detective wannabe and run off to investigate whatever that was. It's probably just something mundane anyway, like a lamp falling over. I'm just going to sit here and wait for Mrs. Wright, with my tea, in complete silence.
Could I at least put the telly on?
I don't really expect him to answer. If he hadn't heard the crash, I doubt he would have heard me.
As long as you don't watch some silly soap opera, the LBC News would be fine. The William Walker show is on too if you prefer that. Not that I watch it, but my husband does. The remote is under the coffee table.
Oh, sure. Maybe I'll be lucky and catch the doc on. I heard they're having reruns of the classics and I want to see the second meet sixth in Spain. If not, just the news then. Thank you. I'll let you get on with your cooking now.
Did you just ignore the crash a while ago then? Whatever. Pitching the remote, I turned the TV on in hopes of filling the silence. Trying to anyway, because the thing won't turn on. And doesn't that make the silence more awkward or what? I know I might not be the best with tech, but I'm sure I can work a simple television remote.
The batteries must be dead.
What? There's blood everywhere. Help me, it says in red. I look at my own hands and find them clean, yet I can see my grisly reflection gaping back at me. And though there's nothing staining my skin, I can feel a sticky and warm feeling of blood dripping down my cheeks. I should be worried. Instead, I feel my attention drawn towards her. Her beautiful blonde hair, her soft lips with skin so fair and swaying hips. I want nothing more than to hold her, plant my lips on her neck and to run my fingers through her hair. She laughs and smiles when she looks at me, but where are her eyes? Temptation is gone in an instant and I recoil, horrified at this reflection I'm seeing, only to be back into something. Or rather, someone. Mrs. Wright stands there, twirling a lock of her blonde hair, a soft smile on her lips and a hand on her hip. I almost back away, but I ground and remind myself that this is my client, and whatever I just saw. Well, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to say that perhaps I'm going a bit daft. It'd be preferable, of course, to think it was a trick of the light, or the makings of an overactive imagination.
Good morning, Mrs. Wright. I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Have you been standing there long?
No, I just came down and saw you were having a hard time with the telly. We must have forgotten to change the batteries. Are you all right, dear? You're looking a bit pale. Haven't you had breakfast yet?
No, I'm fine. I had breakfast already, Mrs. Wright. I just need...
Well then, you mustn't have had enough breakfast. I'm all for a good diet, but that's the most important meal of the day. Johans is cooking up pancakes. Pancakes will make anyone feel better, he always says. We can sit down and tuck in. You'll feel right as rain once we get some fluffy, syrupy goodness in you. And are you sure you're fine, Marianne? You're shaking.
Looking down at my hands, I can see them trembling. Really? Just because she looks so much like her, I'm becoming a damn train wreck? I've been seeing her in my dreams and hearing her voice ever since I met Mrs. Wright at the mansion. With so many blondes in the world, what was different with her? What was different this time? I'm not feeling too well. No. I just remembered something.
I just remembered something, that's all. It's nothing to worry about.
Okay, good. Because if we say we're feeling unwell, you know, then we won't be able to do our job. So let's say we just remembered something.
Are you sure? I am all ears if there is something bothering you. I don't mind a good story, and I don't want it to affect your work performance.
Gossipy wagon, isn't she? She should just leave you alone. It's not like you need her.
Who the hell is that?